everybody, and welcome to Uprising 144K. I'm Hydrogen Man. Okay guys, so the moment that you've all been waiting for, people have been asking for the full review of, well, they've been wanting to see a full review of the 2019 Lourdes Hydrofix Premium Edition. This is the 2018 Lourdes Hydrofix, and this is really what people have been wanting to see, but I just thought I'd do the full review because I don't know how much longer I'm going to keep. These are two of the old original Lordises. This is actually the 2016, but these are Korean models. They're actually, it's kind of interesting because although they have similar names, these are actually completely different. The technology is different. They were built, they're old ones. This is a 16, and this one I don't remember what year it goes back to, but it's one of the first ones that I ever used. And that's what we're going to do a review about. We're going to do all of them, but you know, I have a lot to share with you guys, so let's just go ahead and get started. So these first are the Korean models. Now, these are the first that I really started using. You know, when you push the button, you have to hit them, you know, multiple times to get them going for the full 30 minutes. And the main thing is that this was kind of towards the beginning of learning how to make a good hydrogen machine. It was the best that I could find, you know, many years ago. And we've come a long way as far as what they're making as far as hydrogen machines now. And the problem with these, I did have some issues throughout the years. I mean, one of the big issues was just reliability issues, but I ended up learning a lot of interesting things about these devices throughout the years. I ended up finding out later that these are actually over electrolyzing the water, which is actually something that really disappointed me, because that's something that I wasn't really told, and it was over electrolyzing the water, and that's why I used to see some particulates floating in there, and it's due to the lack of, they just don't have the proper metal technology, and then with the over electrolyzation, I'd see these little flakes of metal, which I guess maybe you could try to filter out, but that would be one issue that I noticed. And the other issue that I noticed, because these, although they look different, guys, they're basically the same thing. I mean, the same quality of plastic, the pictures are exactly the same, really. They have the same metal technology. They just tried to, I guess, redesign the same thing, I guess. But in the end, these both were over electrolyzing the water, which ended up changing the pH of the water, which is not what you want, guys. That's something that was, again, disappointing to me, because hydrogen is completely pH neutral. So basically, it was just a lack of technology. But, you know, this is back when hydrogen, you know, as far as machines, there's a lot still to be learned. And so that was something obviously that was going wrong there. Now, the other issue that I ran into with these was these actually used to offer something that seemed like a good idea, but it just didn't really work real good, was an ozone mode. So I shut it off, and if I go to ozone mode, I feel funny when I say that, ozone mode. Anyway, it's a cleaning mode. See, and it says cleaning. It's supposed to clean the panels. This one had the same thing. See right here, you hit this button and it would go into cleaning mode. And this was supposed to be for cleaning the panels. The issue is that they never really worked that well, and apparently it was part of what's causing the reliability issues. It just didn't really work well. And so when you couldn't clean the panels really good, you'd have to use citric acid. But the problem is due to the low quality of the membranes that were used in these and the low quality of metal, you really couldn't do citric acid cleanings very often, because then you'd end up damaging them. So that was kind of one of the issues in regards to ozone mode, which eventually they did away with on the Japanese models, and they fixed that problem. But I'll go to those in a second. I'm going to start here and finish here, and then we'll move on. So the other thing that I also noticed was the lack of quality of these pictures. They are quite different. And I mean, I didn't really notice until I started handling the pictures from the Japanese device. But I mean, I guess I can show you. Like, first of all, when you take it off, I don't know if it would bother some people, but me, it wouldn't really bother much. But here, it always ends up scratching the picture, so you're always going to have scratches. They all did that. And then, of course, the kind of cheap hydrogen catcher, it kind of works, but it's really cheap and it's easy to break, which they rectified that issue with the Japanese ones. I mean, here, let me show you this. Here you can see the thickness of the plastic, which is part of the quality. And look, you can see it flex when I push it. I had nothing but issues with these pictures. They would crack, it would leak. It just kind of wasn't really of the highest quality. But if you notice the Japanese one, first of all, look at the hydrogen catcher, it's different. This one has a gasket, makes a really good seal. And then here you got a proper hydrogen catcher which will not break. And then look at the quality of the plastic on this one, much thicker, and it will not flex when I push on it. So obviously the Japanese one, much more improved, but you know, they are more expensive. So I mean, you are getting something that's of higher quality, which in my opinion for hydrogen is highly worth it. And I just like not having problems. The reliability is just something that is really, really important to me. I don't like having issues. I must have had these repaired like 2 or 3 times. It was kind of a pain. All right, guys, let's go to the next part. The next part's actually the tank. This is something else that was redesigned. And these guys, this is where you put the filter. But ultimately, they would have big tanks that would hold water in here. And when you pull on it, it's really hard to get out. There we go. And then you can see it dripping water. Whoops, I'm getting it all over the machine. The problem with the dripping of water is that means that this filter is submerged in water all the time. The filter is said to supposed to last 6 to 9 months. However, it was later found out that they were only lasting about 3 to 4 months. So that was just due again to bad design on these particular models, unfortunately. But you know, there was a lot to learn. And the other issue is that these tanks would develop mold. And that was another big issue. So when the Japanese repaired that issue, you know, when they designed their model, this one's actually a lot better. It's so much easier, and it's completely dry because that's better. You pour the water in, it goes in, it comes out, and that's the end of it. It doesn't sit in water, so much better design and a much higher quality filter. I don't know if you saw the differences in the filters, but these are really small, much bigger, and these last much longer. They last at least a year, and a lot of times longer than that. So let's see what else I can show you about these. You know, there was another issue. This was really almost frustrating. When you would put the water in it, for it to get down here, oftentimes it just wouldn't work because of the way that it's designed, and the water would get trapped in here. Which actually brings me to the point of something that I did like about the Korean model. So I had kind of my things I liked and didn't like of both models. But my favorite part on the Korean models was the rubber plug. It just worked really well, and it was sitting there really well. Both of them are exactly the same. The only issue is when you finally did pull them out to drain the water, if you were going to move and you wanted to travel with your machine or something, the problem is that the water would be trapped in here, so only so much would come out, and then later on when you're traveling, more would come out, and eventually ended up turning into an issue because it would get water all over the place. So actually, you know, the rubber plug was great, but the tank was definitely not good. Okay, so basically these also are never intended to have hydrogen gas inhalation. That's one of the huge benefits of the Japanese models, which do offer the hydrogen gas inhalation. In fact, you can see that I got my hydrogen kit down there for the inhalation. And I saw that these old Korean ones, they tried to create a hydrogen inhalation for them and copy the Japanese models. But I highly don't recommend using those even if you found them, because you shouldn't inhale hydrogen gas from these. When they're over electrolyzing and creating other gases, it just simply isn't safe, guys. I'm kind of surprised that they even sell them, but I wouldn't inhale hydrogen gas from one of these units, unfortunately. But let's go ahead and move on, because in the end, a lot of people don't know. I believe I heard last that both of these were discontinued in Japan. They end up trading in a lot of the models in Japan to upgrade people to basically the best hydrogen machine, so they could actually really get the absolute best results and it be completely safe. So it was really better. So they ended up doing trade-ins, and that's actually something I'm thinking about doing with these. I was offered to be able to do trade-ins from the company that I got them from. And so I don't know if you guys have one of these old ones and you want to upgrade, and that's definitely what I plan on doing. I don't know if I'm going to keep these around, but you know, you have that option. Well, at least I think you do. You'd have to contact. That's what they offered me. All right, guys, let's see here. What else can I tell you about them? Yeah, the reliability, I told you guys about that. The hydrogen levels are lower on these. They're about 0.8, 1.0, maybe 1.2 ppm. So they do have a lower grade and lower levels both of hydrogen, where these guys, the 2018 is making something like 1.4 to 1.5 ppm, which is really, really good. And then the premium edition of this 2019 Lourdes Hydrofix is full saturation. You're at 1.6 ppm, which is the highest you can be at our atmospheric pressure. So in that regard, you know, much better for the Japanese models on that as far as the amount of hydrogen. All right, let's see what else can I share with you guys. I guess just the last thing is pretty much the kind of, there's a fragileness I mentioned about these when you do the citric acid cleaning, that they'll only last so long and have certain issues. So it's kind of a little frustrating, but you know, I just think that these were okay for when they first came out. Now let me take you to the moment everybody's been asking about. They want me to do a comparison on these guys right here. All right, the 2018, and let me just show you guys so you can see some of the differences for yourselves, because you're probably looking at both of them and they look the same. And you know what? They would look the same, but they're not to the untrained eye. Let me just show you guys some of the things that I've already learned about these so you can see the difference. Let's start with the 2018 Lourdes Hydrofix. Look at the bottom of the picture and see how it's dark gray down there. Now look at the 2019 Premium Edition Lourdes Hydrofix. See how it's silver down at the bottom? Let me show you again. This one's dark gray because this is a 2018, and the 2019 it's silver. And that's because that's part of what they've actually upgraded on these pictures, and they upgraded them so that they would actually make more hydrogen. Let's see here. What else can I share with you guys about these? I would say also one of the biggest benefits is the inhalation. So there is a difference though on the inhalation. It fits both of these devices. Everything still functions very much the same way. However, when they were tested, because you know what, I should mention this. This is a really big difference between the Japanese models. Again, these are really from a different company, by the way, guys, as compared to these models. These are not individually tested. They're not certified, so you don't actually know. Each machine will be a little different and make different levels of hydrogen. The Japanese models are all tested, all certified, and they're specifically made to make basically what I would call therapeutic levels of hydrogen. And that's the reason that, you know, they use these probably in like medical clinics, and that's, I've never seen these actually used in medical clinics. And I think that's why it's just the standards were so high. But the biggest difference is that these make about 26 milliliters of hydrogen gas per minute, which was actually pretty good. They still got pretty good results at that number. But the 2019 Premium Edition of the Lourdes Hydrofix, this one's making like 120 milliliters of hydrogen gas per minute or greater. And that's at the tip of the cannula, guys, literally at the nose, not what comes out of the machine. Because what comes out of the machine, the number is much higher. And that's how most companies measure it, but that's the wrong way to measure it. I mean, you can try to make your numbers look inflated, but in the end, you want to know what the real numbers are coming out right at the tip of the cannula. And this one has what I would call basically therapeutic grade gas now also, because it's pretty much just exactly the same as the numbers that they were using in a Keio University human study in regards to hydrogen gas. And it was just around this same level. So with the amount of hydrogen gas that it makes for inhalation and the water, this right here is literally the best there is at this time. Now, one of the other things that I've been noticing about these two models since I've been using them, let me try to put them back together for you guys. Hydrogen catcher is easy to use. These do have a gasket, so you do have to kind of let it drop down and then you twist it. But it makes a better seal that way, and it doesn't scratch up your picture. It's just a better design. All right, guys. So the panel's what's different. This one pushes a little harder. This one's a much softer touch. But I noticed that this one takes longer for anything to happen. Watch, you'll hear a noise when I push it, and then I'm just waiting for it to go to standby, and then I do it again in order to shut it down. Come on. See, it takes a while. This one, look how fast it is. And then I push it. And this one works much faster. And it may not seem like a big deal right now, but it actually ends up, this one's a lot nicer to be using. It's just, you know, the button feels nicer and it works faster. It makes more water as far as hydrogen within the water. And of course, a much higher hydrogen gas inhalation. But besides that, guys, they're really quite similar. I mean, the pictures are of the same quality. They do have patented technology on these guys that these guys basically don't have. These guys have super high grade metal technology. In fact, the company, one of the number one metal companies in the world that develops the metal for these devices, which are now apparently making some type of metal for some type of products or something that are going to outer space. Really, really high quality metal. I never see it flaking off in there. It never over electrolyzes. That's part of the other patented technology, so that it won't over electrolyze the water, which means not only that the water is going to be completely pH neutral, which is really what you want, guys. You want pH neutral water, nothing that's been over electrolyzed. So it's only pure hydrogen, which means that it's completely safe to do something like this over here, which is the inhalation of the hydrogen gas. So it's totally safe because it's doing it properly and safely. And it also has the highest quality membrane you can get. It really has, and so basically the water doesn't get electrolyzed at all, guys. Just pure hydrogen. That's the best way to do it. It's the safest way to do it. It's the right way to do it. And with the proper metal technology, I never see any leaching of the metal going into the pitcher. And basically that's the right way to do it. So the Japanese really did a great job on these, but those are kind of the main differences that I noticed. Besides that, maybe like the little color on the panel is actually a little different, but those are just minor things. And the only other way to really know the difference is if you look right here, you see Lourdes Hydrofix. That's the 2018 model. And this one says Lourdes Hydrofix Premium Edition. So that's how you know that you got the 2019 model. But one of the important things to note about these guys is that the 2018 model was really just designed originally just for Japan. You know, they have the most stable electrical grid system in the world. They also have the highest quality tap water in the world. And I learned all this stuff when I was doing research. It's really quite fascinating. So the Japanese model was never intended to be used outside of Japan. And if you did use it outside of Japan, then you would get no warranty, and you know, they just weren't designed for that. So they ended up modifying the 2018 models to be international versions. And so they did have some international models, which is actually what I have here. This is a true international model. And that's what they did, but the demand was so high apparently that they literally developed a unit that was specifically designed for the international market, which is every single 2019 premium Lourdes Hydrofix, these guys right here, these are all designed to be used internationally, and you get a warranty. And you know, although they look, again, very much the same, the internals apparently are completely different. That was one thing that I learned about these guys. The internals are way more robust on the 2019 premium. It is more expensive apparently to build this model as compared to this model. The internals are also sealed better because in Japan, you know, they didn't really have a lot of people with issues spilling water on the machine, but in America, people would spill water on the machine much more often. So they resealed the whole inside. They made it more robust. They made it basically more reliable to withstand, you know, rougher usage outside of Japan. And they do offer a warranty with these. You can use them anywhere in the world, and there's no problem. So those are kind of the differences, guys. I've been enjoying, honestly, after using all these, I definitely like this one. The 2019 Lourdes Hydrofix Premium Edition is hands down the best hydrogen machine that I've ever had. This one is still really, really great. It makes really high quality water, but I just like the way that the panel works on this, and I know that, and I like that I'm getting higher hydrogen numbers from the water, and also the hydrogen gas inhalation, which, I mean, this works on the 2018 model too. You just don't get quite as much. So with this 2019 model, you get more hydrogen gas. I like that a lot. But one of the things that I did like actually about the Korean models also was they don't drip as much water. Well, they do drip a little bit, but it's because they have a little sponge. But that sponge would eventually get all grimy and a lot of times get mold on it too. And that was kind of an issue. So one of the downside with these guys is they drip a lot. You know, they do drip because there's no sponge down there. But honestly, it just works better. And what I end up doing to compensate for that is I just put a little towel in front of it typically. And that for me just solves the issue. But you never have to worry about, you know, a sponge that you have to replace or anything of that nature. And when you put this back on these models, you'll notice that it turns right back on its own. Whereas with the Korean models, that would happen. You would lift it. And again, you know, reliability issues, you can see already the lights are still on, but they're not supposed to be, because technically it's not even on. Now it's on. Now it won't even work. I'm just trying to get it to work here, but yeah, see, that's what I mean. I mean, these always had problems. It won't even turn on the hydrogen mode. Yeah, I mean, this was the problem with okay. Yeah, this is the problem with these Korean models. They just always had reliability issues. The design was unfortunately not good. It was a great idea though, and this one's probably working, right? You know, it was a great idea. It was a great concept. It just wasn't carried out properly. They didn't have the technology from what I've been learning, and just the engineering wasn't there. The Japanese models, on the other hand, they work. You know, they work just fine. In fact, they work really good, and they never give me any problems. And they're so much easier, even to maintain. Like changing the filter is just, it's a walk in the park. It's super nice, and these are hand down really good units. But you know, guys, as I told you before, for those of you who've been following my channel for a long time, guys, I told you that I would always let you know what was the best hydrogen machine out there, and these used to be the best back in the day when when hydrogen was fairly new. But now these guys are so far superior. And you know, not to be confused, some people say that these have the same technology, or some even say that these stole the technology from these guys. Guys, it's not even close. That's not the truth at all. These guys have a completely different way of doing what these guys were doing. These have actually patented technology of their own. They're really quite different, even though they look kind of similar. But these actually work right, and they do hydrogen correctly. Hence the reason these are literally what's being used, like I said, is like the medical standard in these medical clinics that I've been seeing in Japan. This is what they're using, and I'm just glad that we can get our hands on them, at least for now. They're available, so that's really great. And that's it, guys. I kind of hope that you guys found this video helpful. I hope it answered everybody's questions about all these different models. And I don't know, this may be the last time you guys see these on my videos. It's kind of sad because that's where it all started, but hands down, I'm way happier with these for sure. In fact, like I said, the winner of this comparison is obviously a 2019 Premium Edition Lourdes Hydrofix. This is the best machine in the world right now. Super easy to use, guys. Makes all the proper levels of hydrogen gas and hydrogen water, and it's just reliable, and it just will last probably a very long time. It never gives me a problem. So if you guys liked the video, give the video a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to hit that notification button. I'll try to put some links down below for everybody out there who wants to know where I got mine or whatnot. And that's it, guys. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you guys next time on the next video. Thanks for watching, guys.